Hi, I'm going to show you how to make this silk ribbon poinsettia flower and also to make it into a Christmas tree decoration. So I've printed out the templates from craftyattic.com website. The link is in the description. So I'm just cutting out all 4 of these little teardrop shapes here and pinning them to a piece of green felt. And then I'm just going to cut them out so that I've got 4 shapes exactly the same. So take the templates off so that you're just left with the felt pieces. And then I'm going to put a piece of scrap fabric, in this case I've got a piece of muslin here, into an embroidery hoop and just very lightly pin the felt piece into the hoop. So all this material is for is to hold the piece in the frame. I've got an air erasable pen and I'm just drawing a circle. You can get the air erasable pens from craftyattic.com. And I've got some 7mm pure silk embroidery ribbon. Again, you can get this from Crafty Attic. So I'm putting that onto a chenille needle. Chenille needles have really sharp points and big fat eyes, and I'm just tying a knot in the other end and clipping that knot off very tight so that I don't accidentally pull on it when I'm working. So coming up from the reverse of the fabric now, pulling the ribbon through, just making sure that it's laying reasonably there, leaving a little puff in it and passing the ribbon back through the centre of itself. And this is a puffed ribbon stitch. So I need to do 6 of these around this circle, all pointing out at 90 degrees from the circle. So again, doing another puffed ribbon stitch there. So leaving the ribbon slightly raised off from the fabric, passing the ribbon back down through itself and pulling very gently so that the tip pulls into a nice point. So always work in white and colour afterwards. There are many benefits to doing that, the chief one being that you only ever have to keep white ribbon. You don't have to keep hundreds of different colours. And also by colouring afterwards you can make the subtle kind of coloration that you would actually find in flowers. So you can be a lot more artistic with your work. So here I am, I'm just finishing up now doing the 5th petal. I'll just do one last one to finish the first round of petals here. You can see top right, there's one that I've already done. That's what we're aiming towards. So you can twist this ribbon around till it's laying nice and square for you before you actually perform your stitch. So there's the first row of petals. I'm just going to leave the ribbon now. And I'm going to colour this first row. I've got a crimson pro marker. So pro markers are permanent and they will just colour your silk ribbon. The silk will take the pigment that it wants. It won't bleed out into your backing fabric, and nice and permanent, they don't fade. So there we go. So I'm just colouring the back petals with the crimson pen here. I'm just now continuing with the same ribbon as I was before, and I'm now going to do the second row of stitches, so in exactly the same way as before with slightly shorter petals, just putting a petal in between each of the other ones. So I've got another row of petals there ready to colour, and I've got a ruby pro marker. So again, just touching the fat end to the petal and allowing the petal to do the work, allowing the silk to do the work of drawing the ink. So there's the finished petals there. I've now got a 4mm pure silk ribbon, and I'm just going to do some French knots in the centre to form the stamen, the yellow centre that you see in the middle of a poinsettia flower. So you need to wind the ribbon 3 times around your needle and then pass the needle back down through the fabric from whence it came with a French knot. So going through that, bring the ribbon up through your fabric, wind the ribbon 3 times around the needle and pass the needle back down the fabric. Pull on the thread there so that it's tight, the knot is tight around the needle before you start. You may need to use a tiny pair of pliers just to tug it through, because if you've pulled really tight the knot will be stopping the needle from going through, but that's okay. Just tug with a little pair of pliers and it'll come through nicely. So there, I'm just going to do a few little French knots until the centre of this flower is full. You must make sure you use 100% silk ribbon when you're doing ribbon embroidery, because nothing else will fold small enough to come through your fabric. So I've got another couple of pens now, tulip yellow and mustard yellow. Tulip yellow is the softer of these two, so I'm just touching the fine tip to the French knots and then just touching them with the darker yellow on top to give a depth there, a depth of colour. So that's the little poinsettia flower is now finished. So I'm just going to remove it from the hoop and just cut the scrap fabric away from the back, being careful not to cut through the stitches. Just so that there's a bit of an interfacing, bit of a backing on the embroidery there. But we're done with that now, we don't need it anymore. So you need to do all 4 like this. Here's one that I've stitched a few tiny seed beads on. So I've just got a normal green machine thread and I'm just stitching some little seed beads on to the panel. So I'm stitching 4 at the base of the flower and 5 in a line up towards the top of the teardrop. I've got all 4 of these little panels finished now. I'm just going to pin them wrong sides together along one edge, and I've got some white cotton pearl here, number 8, and I'm just going to do a blanket stitch. So I'm hiding the knot between those 2 pieces of fabric, and I'm just then going to do a blanket stitch along that edge. So neat little stitches in the contrast thread here. So if you need to know how to do a blanket stitch, you bring the needle through the fabric from the back and then catch the loop with your needle and pull, and that lays a piece of thread across the seam, across the very edge of your work. They look lovely, blanket stitches. That's a really nice way to finish a felt ornament like this. So much more decorative than machining them. So you just need to finish that that first one there. Then you repeat the process by pinning the next piece in, edge to edge, and you're just going to continue this process until all of the pieces are almost all stitched together. Obviously we need to leave a gap to allow for the stuffing, and we'll come to that in a minute. All the pieces nearly stitched together. I've left a couple of inches in the last panel, and that's so that I can put some stuffing in here. I've got some polyester toy stuffing. You can use some wadding, you can use some cotton wool, anything that you've got to hand really. if you want them to smell like Christmas, you can put some cotton wool with some essential oils on the inside as well. So now continue to close this seam now that the bauble is stuffed, and just stitch that right up to the top and fasten it off. So a few stitches to fasten off, and then just bring the thread down inside and clip it off nice and close. So that's the actual bauble finish now. I've got the Ruby Pro marker here and some 2mm pure silk embroidery ribbon. And I'm just dyeing it quickly red. You can see how fast that is. You just pull it beneath the pen. And I've gathered together some other bits and pieces to make the tassel. So I've got a card template. It's about 2 or 3 inches in width. I've got some green 8mm cotton pearl here. I've got some red as well, so we're going to mix this up. I'm just going to do little layers of this so that when the tassel's finished they're all mixed in together. So then I'm going to use the red silk embroidery ribbon as well. Doing tassels like this, you do get a nice, really nice effect, having all the different textures and things in the tassel. So another layer of the red and the green, and I've got some real sparkly machine thread here, and I'm just going to do a couple of winds of that as well, just to give it a bit extra depth there. Okay, so that's probably about enough now. Just clip off the ends. So I've got a piece of the same green embroidery pearl. I'm just going to slip it through with a needle and tie a knot in the top. And this is going to hold all of the little bits together and make sure they don't fly off. So you'll need to now cut the bottom of that band of ribbons and things. Pull the knot really, really tight because you don't want anything falling out. And then just pinch the tassel so that the knot you've formed is at the top. And we're just going to wind this thread around the top of the tassel a few times. You need to make a really nice tight little band of thread to hold everything in place. And then you can use a needle, just do a few stitches forward and backward through the band, and this is going to anchor the thread, make sure it doesn't come undone. And just hold everything together. If you need to use a little pair of pliers to pull the needle through, you can, because it gets quite tight if you've done it properly. It's quite a tight little bundle, this. Bring the thread up now towards the top of the tassel and just do a few anchoring stitches there. So the tassel is nearly complete. We can just stitch that straight onto the bottom of the ornament there. So a few straightforward stab stitches, then fasten your thread off, bring it up through the bauble and just clip it really close. It'll disappear inside the bauble then. So there's the tassel. We just need to now finish that off by chopping the ends off so they're nice and level. Give it a bit of a haircut. And now we just got to worry about the ribbon on the top to hang it on the tree. So I've got a Holly Pro marker here. This is Holly Green, and I've got some 7mm pure silk embroidery ribbon. I'm just dyeing the ribbon green. So you can get all of these ribbons, you can get the needles that you need from craftyattic.com. We do free worldwide postage if your order is over a minimum amount. So I'm just now tying a knot in. I've folded the ribbon in half and I'm tying a knot about 3 inches down from the loop there, from the loop at the top. And I'm now going to thread the ends onto a chenille needle. and just pass the ends through the top of this bauble. So pass one through in one direction, pass the other through in another direction. And then all you need to do is tie a knot and do a pretty little bow. So we've got loads of videos on the YouTube channel. There's loads of videos on the website of things for you to make and tech tips and techniques. Subscribe to us on YouTube and you'll get all the new videos as soon as they come out. And thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you join us again soon.